We're going to call this meeting to order. If you could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. You going to help me in the pledge? I'm out. Get your chair.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Turn you around, spin you around, spin you around. All right, Mike, can you help me push it back in? Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Mayor, if I may, can I please make a change to the agenda? I know we haven't gotten to amendments to the agenda, but this is pretty important. I would like to move C to after I public comment.
Do we need a second for that?
C, what's C?
No. Okay. Yeah, we can move C to after public comment. Okay, Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Trustee Mason.
Present.
Trustee Reinders.
Present.
Trustee McNaughton.
Present.
Trustee Consolino.
Present.
Trustee Fialco.
Present.
Trustee Stylen.
Present.
Mayor Knightsky-Troicki.
Present. You also forgot one other mayor.
And Mayor Addie Grande.
Say present. Present.
We
Okay,
forgot another one, too.
first mayor.
First mayor.
Next is community recognition. Obviously, we have a special guest here today. We have Mayor Addie. Addie's been the mayor was supposed to be one day, but we kind of made it into a week-long event. She really enjoyed herself, as she just told us that everything was super fun. We went to haunted trails in Fuji's, because that's what mayors do. Then we went to, and then she helped me light the tree and the lights outside for our Homer for the Holidays event. Then today we went to Starbucks, of course. I got my third cup of coffee. You got 2 cups of hot cocoa. We went to Santa's house. We saw where Santa lives. And we saw the cool arches on Hiawatha, right? She signed some checks and signed some bills and approved a few things with me. And here we are. She's going to help me run the meeting until the midway of public comment. So when we get to public comment, if you have something nice to say, either to the board or to Addie, we'll have you join us at the podium. If you have anything else to say, we're going to go for a quick recess so Addie can take some photos and then head out with her mom, her beautiful mom, Jackie, and her wonderful sister, Aurora. And then we'll come back to the meeting, okay? All right, so everyone give a big round of applause for Addie this week. All right, are there any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to make an amendment to the agenda. I would like to move under K7, I would like to move it to legislative and action items under 1A.
Are there any other amendments? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Fialco.
Aye.
Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Trustee Mason.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino.
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton.
Aye.
Motion carries. Can I have approval of the agenda as amended?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Trustee Reinders and Trustee Fialco, any comments? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Trustee Fialco.
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino.
Aye.
Trustee Mason.
Aye.
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Perfect. Next is approval of minutes, April 10th, 2024, Village Board meeting. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee McNaughton, is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Mason, any comments?
No, ma'am.
None from me.
Trustee Stylen, any comments? Trustee Reinders? Trustee Fialco?
None.
Trustee Consolino? No. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee McNaughton.
Aye.
Trustee Mason.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino.
No.
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Trustee Fialco.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is June 25th, 2024, special Village Board meeting. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee McNaughton, is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Reinders, any discussion?
No, ma'am.
Trustee Mason? Trustee
No, ma'am.
Stylen?
No.
Trustee Reinders?
No.
Trustee Fialco? Trustee Consolino? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee McNaughton.
Aye.
Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Trustee Fialco.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino. Trustee Mason.
Aye.
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, August 28th, 2024, Village Board Meeting. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee McNaughton, is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Mason, any comments?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
None, hearing none. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Fialko,
Abstain.
Trustee Reinders,
Aye.
Trustee Stylen,
Aye.
Trustee Consolino,
No.
Trustee McNaughton.
Aye.
Trustee Mason.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we're moving to public comment. Is there anybody that signed up for public comment? Ms. Para, our wonderful Brittany, who does a great job with all of our PR and communications.
Good evening, everyone. Madam Mayor, Addie, and Christina, and Board, good evening. Thank you for letting me speak. I just wanted to say really quickly, it's been an absolute honor to spend the past week with Addie, her beautiful mom, Jackie, and adorable sister, Aurora. Obviously, seeing Addie be mayor and all the fun experiences I've been able to capture on film has been an honor to get to know her story, and I'm really excited for everyone to see the final product. And I hope everyone gets to really get to know Addie and her story and understand kind of what the family's been going through, and it's been an honor to have her at the Village. So thank you, Mayor Christina, for arranging all this, and the board for allowing it to happen, because it's been something I'll remember for the rest of my life. So thank you. And then I also wanted to say, I was sharing Addie's story with the community, with local businesses, and the outpouring love and support that we've received these past few days has been it blew my mind to see everyone come together for Addie and her family. So I wanted to give some gratitude to some local businesses and people in the community that have stepped up and given gifts to Addie's family. So we want to thank the Shriners for donating an Amazon gift card for Addie. Davidson's, one of our local restaurants, they stopped by yesterday and they dropped off $1,000 worth of gift cards. So Jackie, her mom, doesn't have to worry about meals and cooking, which is huge. Not only that, they said once the $1,000 runs out, they are happy to pay for their meals for the entire year of 2025. It's gonna make me cry. Hold on. It's just been really beautiful to witness. So thank you, Davidsons. Please show them support. Go stop in for lunch, dinner. Show them the love that they've given us, show that back, especially this holiday season. So thank you, Davidsons. Thank you to Ben's Soft Pretzels. They donated a lovely pretzel platter and a bake at home kit they dropped off today for Addie, gave it to her in person. So thank you to them. Chesdin's as well, they are donating some gifts, some pizza. The Village of Homer Glen for the staff and everyone that took time to go on the Amazon wish list and donate and send some gifts to Addie. She was covered in presents yesterday. Her mom had sent a photo, and it was really nice to see such a great smile. She has got a beautiful smile and laugh, and it's just really wonderful to see, again, the community really stepping up. Homer Glen is a really special place, and it's all about family, and I've seen that this whole week, and it's really beautiful. So thank you to everybody. I want to thank Trustee Rose for her gift as well. She'll be dropping that off tomorrow. I'll get that to the family. So thank you so much, Rose. Mucha Salsa, they donated $300 worth of tacos. So that's pretty wonderful. I hope you're hungry, Jackie.
Tacos.
Because that'll be great. And there's many, many more members of the community. If I forgot anyone, I'm so sorry. I did make a list, but I do know there's more on the way. There's people that are getting experiences and gifts that's in the works. So thank you for sharing the love. This is what it's all about. When you think of community, this is what I think of, and Homer Glen has really shown that. So again, thank you so much. It's been an honor to be a part of this process, and congrats, Addie, you make one fine mayor. So thank you, everybody. And I'm gonna have Jackie come up. I'm gonna give her this gift card here and all her gifts. And again, thank you guys so much.
Thank you. And thank you, Jackie, for sharing Addie with us. It was a pleasure, and it was a lot of fun.
Thank you for everything you guys have done for Annie. Like, this is just like above and beyond. I'm so excited for Annie that, her story is getting, able to be shared, and how rare of a disease this really is.
You're not alone. We got you. Does anybody else have any nice public comments to say today? Before we take just a 5-minute recess for Addie to be able to join her family, and then they can head out for the event. Oh,
I would love to have a picture,
yeah, that would be great.
and I would like Mayor Addy's picture to be up there.
I agree.
It's a duty.
You're gonna be right up there, right by me. So I can see you every day. Just like I get to see Mr. Russ every day. Anybody else? Okay, we're gonna take is there a motion to take a 5-minute recess so Addie can join her
I'll
family?
make the motion.
Is there a
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Okay, give us 5 minutes. All right, Addie. Call the meeting back to order. Is there a motion to resume?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Fielko, is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're in the second half of public comment. Russ Patrizzo. Hi.
Thank you for letting me speak. Merry Christmas.
Can you turn your mic on for us, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for letting me speak this evening, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone. We're coming back again for the first floor brick in our neighborhood. I guess he's coming back to do stucco. Just a reminder, probably June of 2001, our first ordinance was first floor brick. This is what our community is known for, the tree back there. To change that right now is just be a disaster. It'd just be somebody else coming in to get another variance. So I have some neighbors here. We're just asking for you maybe to vote this down tonight so we put it to rest. But it is our subdivision ordinance also, but it is one of the first ordinances we passed in 2001. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tomaszak?
Hi, I'm Tyler Tomzak. I'm also against passing this ordinance. This request to replace the required brick facade violates both the village ordinance and our association. I know you don't want to hear that, but by removing this facade without approval, he didn't get a permit, he got a stop work order, and then he continued to do work. You're only approving this variance and rewarding bad behavior. And it undermines the established standards set by the village and result in visual inconsistencies and reduced curb appeal. Nonetheless, it will lower the property values for neighboring homes, including my own, thus lower tax revenue. So the homeowners in DeBoer Wood have made a significant financial investments to maintain the higher quality character of our neighborhood. I would like to enter in every picture of our home from the street view. Okay, I took this all this morning, so sorry, need some water. But every home in our neighborhood that we can see from the street is here. So thank you. As long with our declarations that were passed in 1977, so longer than this township has been here. Thank you for your time and appreciate your work.
Thank you. Mr. Daniel?
Good evening, everyone. I conspired with the engineers to make sure to come back and wish you guys a Merry Christmas. I'm not here to discuss anything controversial, I hope. Sometimes having plans executed takes a bit more time. Item L2 on the agenda is related to the Menards Lot 5 with the redesign that we did, and I'm available for any questions. I did not want to step up earlier, but your staff has done a very good job of working with us, and I believe it's important, no matter how small, that if you're spending time on something I'm working on, that I appear and thank you for that. I'll be available if something comes up in the way of questions. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Mr. Pinelli?
Good evening, Andy Pinelli. I live down the street from Mr. Boutros and on the Mackinac Road home that's requesting the variance. Like Ed, he's an okay guy. I wish maybe he could have maybe worked a little closer with his immediate neighbors to address those concerns. Maybe we could have avoided this. But, you know, Ed's in the business of buying and selling homes, and I get the concept of trying to maximize profit. But the village tonight has to decide whether it wants to grant a variance to the village code just because a homeowner doesn't want to pay the money to adhere to it. As a homeowner in Homer Glen, myself, I appreciate that code. It keeps Homer Glen looking like Lockport and props up our home values. And I think you should enforce that code unless there's a very, very good reason to grant a variance to it. And I don't think it's not in the budget is a good enough reason. It is true that there is an extremely rare, entirely stucco home just 4 houses down the street from Mr. Boutros. How that got approved, I don't know, because it happened about 40 years ago. And maybe it was because it's got kind of a Spanish colonial look to it. But regardless of how it got approved, there was no village back then, and now there is a village. And the village has reasonable codes to adhere to for the common good of the village residents. And until this summer, Mr. Boutros' home did adhere to that code. So we'd like to see a variance not get adopted for that home. And thank you for being out here on a cold night, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Okay, that was it for public comment. We are now moving to C, which was the moment of silence. I'd like to dedicate tonight's moment of silence to Mr. Aaron Toppin. Thank you. Now moving on to reports and communications from President and other officers. Village Manager Joe Baber. I know you have a lot to report today.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I'd like to report on the behalf of the Behavioral Health and Addiction Recovery Committee. December is Seasonal Depression Awareness Month, and we have provided a lot of useful resources on the behavioral health section of the village website, so please visit if you so need. This morning, I attended the hearing at Will County Circuit Court regarding the lawsuit brought against the Will County Supervisor by members of the Will County Board as it relates to Resolution 2427 and 143rd Street. The judge's decision was that a special state's attorney would be assigned to the county commissioners for this case. Another status hearing is scheduled for January 29th. Last week, the Illinois Commerce Commission approved $110 million rate hike for Illinois American water users. It is not immediately known how this rate will impact Homer Glen water bills. The village is still investigating what additional measures we can take against this rate hike implementation. Last night, staff attended an event at Brookfield Zoo hosted by ComEd to recognize communities that were awarded grants that were funded. The village was awarded over $7,400. Staff Jennifer Vittori, Ashley Koglowski, and Gia Kasson worked on this grant, which will be used for a pollinator conservation area in Culver Park. Lastly, I would like to wish everyone a safe and happy holiday season. Also, a happy birthday wish goes out to the mayor, which is tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Okay, moving on to the village trustees. Trustee Reinders.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. This past week in A&F, John Sawyers gave us our finance director gave us a picture of where the village is at this point in time at the end of the year. And what he relayed to us was that the village finances continue to be in excellent shape. The general fund, which is the village's largest operational fund, had a $10.8 million fund balance. The general fund has grown by $2.3 million since May 1st of 2024, as reported on the September 30th, 2024 Treasury report. I would like to estimate that the village will continue its 23-year streak of finishing the fiscal year with a general fund operating surplus, which means that the revenues are in excess of the expenditures, which is great for our staff. For all the residents that are interested in our village finances, please go to the website under transparency for our 5-year information of audits, budgets, and disbursements. And with that, as a member of this board, I am so proud of our directors and staff that work so very hard to maintain our fiscal responsibility. In 2024, no department exceeded an item that was not budgeted for. All projections are on track. And that's reporting for A&F, but I also would like to report for the Parks and Recreation Department. there's been some questions raised as to what does the Parks Department and Recreation Department do once the winter months come? Because they're not out in the parks, but yes, they are out into the parks. What they do is they clean the parks, they clean the leaves, they rake the leaves. They actually they keep our tennis courts and our volleyball courts in order. They take down trees that that are blown over in the event of bad weather, or trees that have to come down. They do a lot of maintenance throughout the winter months. The Parks Department also maintains all of their own vehicles, and that means changing spark plugs, changing oil, changing tires. All of that stuff comes out of what they do in the winter. So if there's any question as to what the Parks Department does do in the winter, I would just like you to know that maintenance is the most important thing that they can accomplish at that time, because during the spring and summer, they're out fertilizing, and with us taking on the additional township parks, they have a lot of work, and their staff is, they're short staffed. They don't have a staff that they can go out every single day and do every park all in the same time. They have to schedule to where they can meet the needs of all the parks. So I just want to give a shout out to them as well. Also, I spoke with Jennifer Vittori earlier today, and she told me that they actually donated 2 memorial trees in Culver Park this week. People that could not afford the trees, but there were plaques that they wanted to put by existing trees. So Jennifer and her staff made it possible for them to have trees. So and also I would just like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, to all of our residents, to our families, to our staff, and everybody that is near and dear to our hearts. That's my report.
Thank you, Trustee Reinders. Trustee Consolino. I'm going to excuse myself. I have to get something out of my office.
I just want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and God bless.
Trustee Reinders.
I already.
Trustee Stylen. Sorry, make it long.
Okay. I'll sing a song. Okay, no. Thank you. I would like to just say thank you to all who worked on the Homer for the Holidays tree lighting that just took place this last weekend. It was a lovely event, and the gnomes and snowmen are in the park. And I'm always amazed with the creativity of our residents. I encourage everybody to go out there and visit, but maybe choose a warmer day than today or tomorrow. And reporting for the Community Development Committee, we will not have a meeting this month. We're taking a break for the holiday, and we'll be back resuming in January. And at this time of the year, we're seeking sponsors for our 2025 events. So if you own a business, we'd like to encourage you to reach out to our events department. Sponsorship is a great way to get your name out there in front of our community, our residents, and those who attend our events. Also, I'll report for the Homerfest Committee. They're in full action with organizing the 2025 event, and they're reaching out to community organizations to volunteer for the beer tent and working with the bands and food vendors, and to mark your calendars for June 26th through the 29th, 2025. And please consider signing up for a volunteer and get that on your calendar right away. And I'd also like to wish the mayor a happy birthday for tomorrow.
Thank you.
And I'd like to also wish everybody Merry Christmas as well.
Trustee Mason.
Yes, ma'am. I want to report for Public Services and Safety. Our committee met last week. EMA Director Ron Cuss advised we had received a $1,500 grant from the Wolverine Pipeline and another grant for $500 for Harbor Freight for a generator. Our speed counters are down. 4 out of 6 are still out of service. Director Woods and Ron Cuss are also looking into the possibility for grants for those devices and replacements possibly. Between Public Services and Safety, these gentlemen have done a great job this year. I can't say enough about it. I also want to tell everybody, please be safe this holiday season. I want you all to have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And looks like Trustee Stylen stole my thunder. Happy birthday, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Wow, lots of birthday wishes. Trustee Fialco.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to just say, this past Saturday, December 7th, was Pearl Harbor Day. That day that went down in infamy to remind us all that freedom isn't free, and to take a moment to remember the lives that were lost that day. So the other thing that I learned when I actually did a little research on that day is the Pearl Harbor Memorial was in part paid for by Elvis Presley, who had a sold-out show at the Aloha Bowl that day and helped pay for that. So I thought that was interesting. I'd like to say happy birthday to you tomorrow, and also Merry Christmas to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee McNaughton.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. And as we gather here tonight on this crisp winter evening, I want to take a moment to wish each of you and every one of you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And the season is a time for reflection, gratitude, and togetherness. It's a chance to celebrate the progress we have made as a board and a community, and look forward to the opportunities that lie ahead. Home at Glen is a very special place because of the people who call it home, and I'm grateful for the dedication and care each of you brings to our village. As we enjoy the holidays, let's remember the importance of kindness, compassion, and connection, whether it's sharing a meal, helping a fellow neighbor, or simply spreading some holiday cheer. It's these small acts of goodwill that make this time of year so special. So thank you for being part of what makes Home at Glen such a wonderful place to live. Here's to a joyful holiday season and a new year filled with health, happiness, and success. Merry Christmas, happy birthday, and have a great time tomorrow, Madam Mayor. Cheers.
Staying home in my warm bed. Village Clerk.
I just wanted to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and Happy Birthday.
Thank you. Village Attorney.
Just want to say happy birthday to the mayor, and also want to wish everybody happy holidays and a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Public safety officials. Pete, happy birthday to me. All right, that comes to me then. Merry Christmas, happy birthday to myself. And this morning I had a great experience at Marion Village with Lou Zemke in the back. They did a collection for Toys for Tots. They had 5 huge boxes that the fire department picked up this morning. It was absolutely amazing. The boxes were overflowing. We have a Toys for Tots box out in front as well. I believe the Pelican Harry's is having a Toys for Tots event on December 14th. I forgot the time, but I think maybe 6 or 7 o'clock. But for anyone who hasn't pitched in and brought a toy yet, feel free to drop one off here and we can take it to Pelicans or go to Pelicans. We're also doing a coat drive in the front hallway. In the years past, we've had our hallway full of coats. It would be overwhelming the amount of coats. We've had to, shift them out. And this year we haven't even filled 1 box yet. So if you're cleaning out your closets, or if you've got some old coats you want to give away, I know there's a big shortage on coats all of a sudden. But if you have some old coats that you want to throw in the box and give it to someone, it'd be greatly appreciated. A huge thank you to the staff, Mike Carlson, and everybody here that pitched in and helped for Homer for the Holidays. It was such a success. Addie did light the lights. I know there was a little confusion with the Christmas tree, but as we know, the tree that we usually do has a little bit of a fungus. We call it the Jackie tree, but it has a little bit of a fungus, so we didn't want to stress it out by putting any more additional lights on it. So she did light the rest of the trees in the park. Merry Christmas to everybody, and just one more thing about Addie. I want to thank Trustee Reinders for moving that moment of silence right before the meeting started. As many of you may or may not know, Addie has terminal cancer. She's 1 in 2.5 million children that get this rare disease. So it was really important that you caught that, and I appreciate that. So thank you. Sure. Okay, so we're going to move on to the consent agenda. It's a big one. All right, number 1. Oof, you guys were busy, right? 1, consider approval for accounts payable for a period of November 15th, 2024 through December 12th, 2024 in the amount of $1,116,138.91. Consider for approval the Treasurer's Report of Cash and Investments for the period ending September 30th, 2024 in the amount of $48,968,558.05. Consider for approval the quote from IT Partners for cyber compliance professional services of $1,800. 4, consider for approval an ordinance declaring surplus property from the EMA department and authorizing its sale. 5, consider for approval allowing the facilities department to proceed with E. Norman to install a new burglary alarm at the park's maintenance garages in the amount of $6,226.94. 6, consider for approval the quote from Soralis Roofing Solutions, Inc. for the Public Works Garage Roofing Project in the amount of $110,000. 8, consider for approval the quote from McGrath for our MPSP agreement for $485 per month for 5.25 years. 9, consider for approval the final payment estimate in the amount of $105,438.04 to PT Farrow for the 2024 road resurfacing program. And 10, consider for approval an ordinance declaring surplus property from the Public Works Department and authorizing its sale. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Reinders, is there a second? Trustee Mason, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Trustee Mason.
Aye.
Trustee Fialko.
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino.
Abstain.
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Motion carries. And Trustee Reinders, you wanted K7 after L1, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we're moving on to L1. Consider for approval an ordinance granting a variance to allow stucco siding materials on the first floor of the dwelling in lieu of the exterior construction standards 75-66, applicability and scope, new and existing buildings and structures, additions, alterations, reconstructions, and replacements of existing structures of the code of the Village of Homer Glen for certain real property located in the R2 Single Family Residential District at 12357 West Mackinac Road, Homer Glen, Illinois. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Fialko, is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Stylen. Trustee Fialko?
Yes, my thought on this, I heard what Andy Pinelli had to say and what everybody else had to say. I do remember this coming up before. But what I'm thinking about doing, and I'd like to hear the rest of the board's opinion, is to possibly table this and do just what Andy Pinelli was talking about. Now, the way I understand it, I didn't see the whole HOA agreement, but the HOA agreement allows for 66%. So we have given this variance to other houses in the community, the same, but I'd actually like to see the person with the house, who is not here as far as I know, get together with the homeowners association and come to an agreement in using that 66% that would be allowed from the HOA and us possibly amending the ordinance. I'd rather see us work together and have kind of a camaraderie between the people that live there and get that done. And the other thing I wouldn't know, or I don't know, is being that the HOA allows it at 66%, who should come first here? Should the HOA come to an agreement that they'll allow the 66% and then they come to us? Or should we be saying that we would allow them to, I don't know if we're putting the cart before the horse by doing this or not, but that would be, let me see, yeah, they allow 66%. This HOA, as far as I know, covers that house, even though that house is to the north of DeBoer Woods, a little bit, the DeBoer Woods that I know. I'm assuming that information is correct. So that's where I'm at with it.
Thank you, Trustee Fialko. Trustee Stylen?
Yes, this is, would be asking for a variance on a village ordinance, and I'm opposed to that. I think I would like to support our ordinance that opposes this. And for the gentleman, Todd Tomzak, when he was up here, he didn't know why the other house got the request. We did get a letter that's in our packet that said that the one home that does have it, it was for architectural design purposes, which this house does not have. And I also think that in addition to violating our ordinance, it would, I agree with rewarding the bad behavior and reducing the curb appeal. And usually when we grant a variance, we consider the homes around it, and this would affect the homes that are around it. Thank you.
Trustee Mason?
Yes, ma'am. I agree with Trustee Stylen. First of all, our ordinance says no stucco. I would like to thank the residents that came out and spoke, Mr. Tomzak, former Mayor Rush Patrizio, and Mr. Pinelli. I don't see why we wouldn't enforce our own ordinances, and I don't want to step on the toes of a HOA in this case, and I have never passed anything in that subdivision similar to this.
Thank you. Trustee Consolino?
No, I read through all of the comments before listening tonight from the residents. I was not happy with, it was 100% compliant. They removed everything without getting a permit. That's why I wasn't happy with it the last time. You know, there are HOA laws for a reason. This is why I'm not part of an HOA. You know, it does not abide by that. And, you know, the fact that they removed all of the siding illicitly, I'm not comfortable with permitting a variance at this time. It's going against their HOA. They went against our law as well. I like Trustee Fialco's idea about trying to work with the community. These are people who are living next to each other. I think that's a good suggestion. But I'm not going to encourage or reward not getting the permit to remove all the siding.
Thank you. Trustee Reinders?
I have to agree with Trustee Consolino and Trustee Stylen. You don't get a permit for, you know, you decide to do work on your own without getting a permit. It's against everything that this village stands for. Also, the HOA, when whomever this person is that moved into this subdivision knew that there was an HOA. And I mean, when I moved into my subdivision, they gave me a book this big of bylaws, and I'm sure that was the same, was afforded to that person as well. So with those things in mind, I couldn't vote for this as well. I would not give them a variance.
Thank you, Trustee Reinders. Trustee McNaughton?
Yeah, we've seen quite a increase in the number of variances or construction being undertaken without permits recently, and it's kind of a slow creep in the wrong direction. It sets the wrong precedent. That's outside of the standards that have been set for a very good reason. You know, we have specific building codes. They're designed to ensure the consistency and durability of the properties within the village and to protect the values of those properties as well. So for that reason, brick it is.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Fialco?
No.
Trustee Stylen?
Wait a minute, a no vote is not approving the ordinance.
Correct.
No.
Trustee Mason?
No.
Not approving the variance.
Right, the variance.
No, ma'am.
Trustee McNaughton?
No.
Trustee Consolino?
No.
Trustee Reinders?
No.
Motion carries. Motion is denied. The variation of the ordinance does not pass. Just put it that way. Okay, now we are going to move on to case 7. Consider for approval the budget for 2025 Homer Community Festival for the total amount of, and I believe I have the right number here because I have two different amounts, $240,073.10. That's incorrect.
No, that's the wrong one.
48.
That's what both of mine say, actually, so I have to.
1A is, it is
248.
248 here.
$248,539.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Fialco?
I'll second.
Trustee Mason. Trustee Fialco, you're first.
Okay, just briefly, obviously everyone knows I am not part of Homerfest anymore, but we have Dan Waddick in events that's handling this. The cost of everything has gone up, and we talked about this in admin and finance. What I did is I sat down with Dan Waddick. Last year, our budget was $241,000 and some change. We were under budget by a little bit. I think it was $240,000 and some change. But what we did is basically looked at the CPI in June of 2024. And what we found it to be at 3%. And so what we did is took 3% of last year's budget and added it onto this number. So that's how we got to this new number. Keeping in mind that Homerfest is a break-even, for the most part, event. I wish Dan was here to talk about it. He's not here, right? But this is, most of the time, is zero cost to the taxpayer. So giving Dan a little bit of flexibility with cost increases from everything that is done with the fest. I thought this was actually a pretty decent number to come up with. Again, keeping in mind that this is really not a cost to the taxpayer. And the Homerfest has always done a good job in the past, and I'm assuming they'll do a great job in 2025 also. But keeping that in mind, and the conversation did go, just because there's $248,539 on there, it is not the goal to spend it. This is not big government. And my conversation with Dan was, it's not to be there to spend it all. It's to take and work within that number and have a little cushion. Keeping in mind also, there's other fests in our community that spend $300,000 just on one band. This $248,000 for 2025 would be to cover all 4 days for everything that goes on, from fireworks to carnival to bands to everything that goes on. So anyway, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Trustee Fialko. Trustee Mason?
We beat it up pretty good in A&F, and I want to commend Dan Wattis for trying to come in. This is why you were confused at 240. The board decided that the 3%, as Trustee Fialko mentioned, was worthy of cost increases and whatnot to ensure that we covered that. I like his tenacity. I like Dan's tenacity to save us the money. I was all for that. But I understand you do not have to spend it. And if I catch anybody spending $300,000 on a band, that's it for me.
Trustee Stylen?
Yes, I just support this. We usually don't spend the full budget anyway, but it is nice to have that cushion in case things go wrong. And inflation, they just reported today, is up again. So.
Right. Trustee McNaughton?
I'm in favor. A great event, huge supporter, a lot of fun, huge for the community, so absolutely.
Thank you. Trustee Reinders?
I know that Dan Roddick was a little apprehensive about the 3% increase, but he also was worried about, over the past three and a half years, the increase in product and vendor services has increased, tremendously. So he definitely would just like to have a little bit of a cushion. I think he stated that he's going to try to keep it as much under budget as he possibly can, but he's happy with a little bit of a cushion.
Thank you. Trustee Consolino?
I'm okay with a cushion. I'm just hoping that it stays under budget.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Motion carries. L2, consider for approval an ordinance approving a final plat of re-subdivision of Lot 5 in Menard subdivision for certain real property generally located in the C2 Local Business District on lots 4 and 5 of the Menard subdivision, Homer Glen, Illinois, case number HG 2301 PUD. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee McNaughton, is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Trustee Mason. Trustee McNaughton?
Yeah, when you look at the past history on the situation, it had been previously approved by the board earlier this year. I've read through the information, and I'm happy to proceed with this. I feel comfortable with it.
Thank you. Trustee Mason?
I concur. It's the same. We didn't have a problem in the past, and it's just a renewal. So.
Trustee Consolino?
I'm fine with renewal.
Trustee Fialko?
This is several times, Menard, this has been in front of us, but I still support it. I'm be interested if he has a start date that he's kind of thinking about, being that we've seen it so many times. But other than that, I support it.
Trustee Reinders?
Well, I think with the overall situation with the way that for the last 3.5 years, how things have, prices of construction, materials have escalated, I can't see why, we wouldn't approve this, because I'm sure that's where the problem is coming in, is with the increase in costs.
Trustee Stylen?
Yeah, I have no problems with this.
Did you have anything you wanted to add for the, no, you're good?
I could let you know briefly.
Yes, I was gonna ask.
We do intend to start construction as soon as we're able to. We have design plans and final engineering. I think when Janie brought this up with me on the timing of it, I think a day before her call to me about 4 weeks ago, we were still getting comments from utilities about specifics on installations and things like that. That just takes quite a bit of time. We also, with the sale of the property, the way it occurred, there were tax proration issues that we were working on, but I don't want to bore you with that. I appreciate the time that you've given this, and thank you very much. I'll let Mohammed know, and I sent Jenny an email about interest in helping out with what went on earlier tonight with Mayor Addy. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee McNaughton.
Aye.
Trustee Mason.
Aye.
Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino.
Aye.
Trustee Fialko.
Aye.
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Motion, did we miss someone? No. Motion carries. Consider for approval pay estimate 3 for DDD construction for the Heritage Park parking expansion project in the amount of $738,789.23. Is there a motion?
moved.
Trustee Mason, Trustee Reinders. Mason, Trustee Mason.
I've beat up Brett, Mr. Westcott, I should say, sorry, quite a bit on this one. He held back money when I felt appropriate, and I'm sure some of the other board, I've talked to Trustee McNaughton and Stylen and Reinders on this a couple different times. Bottom line, yeah, we do need to pay the bills, but I want to make sure that all the stuff is pushed through and completed before we give them final payment.
Thank you. Trustee Reinders.
Madam Mayor, may I ask Director Westcott a question?
Yes.
So Brett, are you satisfied with the punch list so far?
Yeah, we've generated one. Dee's been out there trying to work this, a little bit as things have progressed. We have let them know that although, with this potentially being approved tonight, that they will not receive the check until we are satisfied with what we see out there, to make sure that they come back and finish up all the remaining landscaping and all the remaining punch list items. So we will hold back a good chunk here until they were satisfied with what we see.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that that was an update since the A&F committee meeting. Thank you.
Is that it?
That's it.
Trustee Stylen?
No comment.
Trustee McNaughton?
No, ma'am.
Trustee Consolino?
I haven't been in support of this since the beginning, and nothing has changed my mind, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse and repeat myself.
Thank you. Trustee Fialko?
It was just said that we're going to hold back a portion. I did also hear that we weren't going to pay until the work was done. And I almost think, without giving any indication to anybody and giving them any teeth to bite into something by saying we passed it, that they're entitled to it, I think we're better off holding off till the work is complete. That would be my advice, because I've seen things, what has happened before. Unless there's more clarity as to we're going to hold back some of the money. Is it all the money? Some of the money? I heard two different things, I think. So I just would like to be clear on that. But I really believe if there's work to be done, you're better off not passing something and not giving any teeth at this moment for a lawyer to say, well, the board passed it, they're entitled to it. I think we're putting ourselves in peril by doing that before the work is complete.
Mr. Westcott, do you want to clarify? Because I thought I saw that in here.
Yeah, so essentially,
10% is going to
it's
be
two
held.
things.
Yeah.
Number one, this is just pay estimate 3. This is not the final pay estimate. This brings us up to date with all the work that's been completed out there, right? We try to be fair with contractors to some degree. When they do the work, we need to pay them in a timely manner. However, I do not have to give them that check until I am satisfied. And that is what we have done previously. I withheld the last pay estimate for several months, and I did not give them the check until they came out here and finished what they needed to do. And I intend to do the same thing with this, right? That's the leverage that we have. I've worked in construction management for 10 plus years before I came work for the village. This is right in my wheelhouse. This is standard practice for that. That's your leverage. You hold the check. Once that's complete and they get what we need to get done out here, right? If there's other minor punch list items, like there's a nick in the curb, or we don't like this, or a plant died, or whatever, that's when you have that retainage. That retainage is held out of every pay estimate. So once everything's paid out, right? We have that last estimate of $61,500, $61,500 roughly remaining after this to close everything out. That's your landscaping, your striping, your signage, et cetera. Once that final pay estimate is paid, we hold the retainage, and we do not release that retainage until everything is completed on the project.
Which is $207,000 and $207,173.09.
Correct. So there's several tiers to it. We have this pay estimate, which again, we do not have to give them the check until we are satisfied. And you can hold that check back and hold back that pay estimate. We're approving it tonight because if it doesn't get approved tonight, then it gets pushed to the next month or potentially the next month, right? And then that starts causing issues. So when they finish their work, we can cut the check.
Okay, so I'm going to go around one more time. Trustee Mason, was that the end of your?
No, and again, and I apologize, Mr. Westcott, but, and we covered this in A&F, and that's exactly what was explained to us, and I'm sorry, Mr. Westcott, but I beat him up pretty good. I went to his office many different times. We had discussions on this. I told him I wanted leveling out there, I wanted it cleaned up. They went as far as adhering to all the stipulations you put on them. I don't mind that the estimate is $61,000, that is the final, and then we're sitting on the retainage and holdback fee of $207,000. So with that, I'm okay. I do feel that when somebody produces or provides work, that we need to pay in a timely manner.
Trustee Reinders, was there anything else?
No, because I mean, I've talked to Director Westcott about this, and at A&F, we discussed this at length.
Trustee Steinle?
Yeah, I agree with paying as, when the work is finished.
Trustee McNaughton?
No, ma'am.
Trustee Consolino? I know you said no already. Trustee Fialko, I just want to make sure everyone got their
nothing
second
further from
chance.
me.
Okay,
I
Madam
stand.
Clerk? Oh,
Trustee
wait,
Mason?
hold on. Say that again? Is there a question on the retainage?
Is retainage held like for warranty provision too, or is it just released upon completion of the work?
I think it's on warranty. So the retainage is on for warranty, right?
That's right.
Correct. The retainage is taken out of every pay estimate, and that's not released until the project is completed.
Warren.
You have a microphone.
Just use it.
No, please do.
May I speak?
Yes.
The retainage, is that held also during the course
Yes.
of the warranty provision? Like
Yes.
for a year or whatever your warranty provision traditionally is?
Until we are satisfied, yes.
And then you release it, they have to apply back to you, and then you release the retention after that period has expired?
Yep.
May I
Okay.
ask a question?
Sure.
Since legal brought it up, that's something I did not think of, Mike, and thank you very much. What is the warranty period?
We'd have to look into the special provisions. Generally speaking, when work is substantially complete, right? In this case, we have a lot of landscaping and plantings that have to go in for the cul-de-sac. So that warranty period would be making sure that those take, right? It'd be until you have like a substantial completion, right? Or substantial establishment of that grass or the plantings or what have you. And that's generally the case in that. I look into the special provisions to let you know exactly if there's a length of it, but generally speaking, it's once you hit that substantial completion and everything's established, then you release the retainage. Similar
Thank you,
to
Mr.
our
Westcott.
resurfacing program, right? When the roads are all done, striped, and the gravel's in place, and everything's up to par, all the mailboxes are put back, and trees are replanted, we release the retainage.
Thank you, sir.
All right. You all feel good now? Okay. Madam Clerk, now I call the roll, please.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
No.
Trustee Fialko?
No.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 4, consider for approval the reduction of the letter of credit for the Villas of Old Oak Development to the new amount of $205,257.37 and move into the 2-year maintenance period in accordance with the Village Code. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Reinders, Trustee Mason, Trustee Reinders?
Okay, this is something that we discussed in A&F as well, and my take on this is that I don't see why we can't release this money. This is a letter of credit. We're still going to have another 10% that we're going to be holding back, but everything has been completed. And I know that there's been some issue regarding the garage doors, and I had several conversations with Melissa regarding this. And I don't think that it's fair for us as a board member to be able to dictate to a contractor what style they should put on their garage doors. If they have an HOA and the HOA has rules and they have to follow those rules. I know the problem here was the material that was used. It wasn't something that Trustee Fialko was satisfied with, but yet when I went to Melissa, she said that we can't dictate, as long as they meet the code, there's no reason why we can hold back their money, or we can't, as board members, tell them how they should design as long as it's following the code of the village.
Thank you. Trustee Mason, you made the second?
I agree with everything that Trustee Reiner said. In fact, I'm the one that pushed this to be pushed in front of the board because I could have approved it and put it under the consent agenda. But after listening to Trustee Fialco, half of us were not on the board at the time that this went through. And when listening to Trustee Fialco, he pointed out that there were some negotiations that went on for wood doors and the types of materials, and I think they stated a wood grain. Now, it was unclear, and I'm using this as transparency. I agree with releasing people their money. I have no problem with it. But again, this side of the board, or several people on this board, were not here at the time. And I don't know what was negotiated, whether it was a stamped metal wood grain, whether it was a fiber stamped wood grain, whether it was actual wood grain. I don't think that somebody should be telling somebody what color or what type of door they should have on their house unless there's something in the HOA rules, regulations. But I wanted it brought up tonight just so everybody who's not in A&F could see that, and as well as the public.
Thank you. Trustee Fialco?
Yes, I agree with reducing the amount of money on this one. And in the discussion, it was for clarity, and I agreed with Trustee Mason to bring it to the board. And I think it's important as a learning lesson that when you want something to take place, that you need to make sure that you're very clear. Because you can put, I mean, the attorney would probably agree with me, you can make provisions when they're building a subdivision to do just what we wanted to be done with those doors. We asked for a wood grain door. Matter of fact, the comment was said not too light and not too dark, and there was a laughing conversation after that. So the intent was to make it like the fiberglass doors that look like wood. That was the intent, but it wasn't put into the conversation. So when it came back, what we ended up with was garage doors that are stamped, metal stamped to look like a wood door. So all that it was to keep this out of the consent agenda under the omnibus rule, we wanted to take and just bring it to the board so everybody that wasn't here understands that that kind of thing can happen if you're not very clear in what you request at the time. So it was probably a mistake on our behalf not to define it exactly as a fiberglass door that has a wood grain and go through the whole thing. But it would be a mistake to say that you can't do it, that you have to have a HOA. There was no HOA. There isn't an HOA. It's a brand new subdivision. And so that was the request at that time. And the reason we put that request in is because they were taking down a lot of trees in that subdivision. So we wanted it to look as close as to what they were removing tree-wise to remain with the tree, the length of trees that we've got along 143rd Street that weren't removed. So it was just to complement that neighborhood for what it was before they took the trees out. And it's just a word of caution to the board, this board and whoever comes after, April, to be very cautious with how you take and put things together if that's what you really want. So I'm in support of giving the money back. I never said I wasn't in support of giving the money. They're entitled to it, I think.
Okay, Trustee Consolino?
No, I do remember the conversation because it was very lengthy. The only thing that, maybe for future reference that we should take into consideration was my understanding in that meeting, yes, we could make the request because we were all in agreement with it. And, Director King was present at the time. It was something, if it was something that we couldn't do, then she should have told us at that point, or the developer should have told us at that point, and they didn't. They led us on to believe that, yes, they would comply with this, and they were okay with it. So I understand, and I appreciate you guys bringing it back before the board, because this was discussed by the board. It's not like, Trustee Fialco's exaggerating. This was a huge discussion. Mayor admits that she remembered it. But I would like that noted for the future, that when we're discussing about what we want for development, are we asking for what we can have, and are they really going to comply? I would like to see everything in writing. I like everything in writing. So, no, they're entitled to their reduction. There's no problem with that.
Thank you. Trustee Stylen?
Yes, thank you, Trustee Mason and Trustee Fialko for the explanations. I was at that meeting. I wasn't on the board, but I remember being in the audience when that was discussed. And a lot of points well taken about what to do in the future. And I've driven through the subdivision and it looks lovely. Looks great. So I'm fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee McNaughton?
Yeah, no, I tend to agree, and the committee voted 2/3 to approve the reduction as well, so I'm comfortable with that.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 5, consider for approval an ordinance for text amendments to Chapter 220 zoning attachment 2, Table 2, use and bulk tables for non-residential districts of zoning code of the Village of Homer Glen to allow body piercing establishments in the C2 local business and C3 general business zone districts upon obtaining approval of a special use permit HG 2421A. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Trustee Consolino, Trustee Mason. Sorry, I'm passing around my candy because this is a long meeting and we need sugar. Trustee Consolino, you're up.
It's my understanding, I spoke with staff, this is just a text amendment. It's not a zoning change, and it's basically us moving along to see where we can do this. So, no, I have no issues.
Trustee Mason?
As Trustee Consolino states, it's a zone change, and I'm pro-business. The Plan Commission voted 4-2 for this. I don't have an issue with it. We have limited space where this type of business can be, and I've read through the entire packet. It seems like this would be a something that could be useful for the village.
Trustee McNaughton?
Yeah, no, I support this, and I wish Cyril Lazara the best of luck.
Trustee Stylen?
Yes, I heard, it seems like nowadays almost everybody has a tattoo, so.
No.
I have no problems with this.
Trustee Reinders?
I have no problem.
And Trustee Fialko?
I support it. We support local businesses, and I think this is long overdue. The Planning Commission did vote in favor of this, so I support it.
Attorney, would you like to add something? You just told me that the petitioner, is the petitioner here? I see smiles in the audience, so, well, I should say, go ahead and explain.
Well, just from a point of information, an applicant would still have to apply for a special use permit under the current village ordinance. This just gives the ability to do so at that location that you're looking at.
I knew there was somebody in the room, sorry. Right, yeah. All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Just want to be clear, it was for piercing, not tattooing. Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Motion carries, but I wouldn't be opposed.
I would not be opposed either, but I just want to make sure everybody was.
All right, so number 6, consider for approval an ordinance for text amendments to I just did that one. Wanted to do it again. No, I didn't. Consider for approval an ordinance for text amendments to Chapter 220 zoning of the zoning code of the Village of Homer Glen, specifically 220-1005C6B regarding temporary signs for business promotion, and Chapter 114 fees, specifically 11412 regarding building department fees, HG 2422A. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Mason?
I'll second.
Trustee Reinders? Trustee Mason?
We went through this pretty thoroughly and enough. This was something that needed to be updated. It hadn't been changed in 4 years since COVID. It reinstates limits on the sign display time. It creates a more efficient, simplified monitoring system for us. It's one sign per permit. So I'm all for it. I think that we were getting a little lax with the temporary signage out there, and I think this helps to ring it in, so to speak.
Trustee Reinders?
I agree with the amendment. I think we need to have something a little bit more permanent on the books.
Did it? Trustee Stylen?
Yeah, I kind of wish we would have had a little bit of a workshop on it personally, but, because I'm wondering if, like, the temporary signage you have, banners, I would rather see chloroplast instead of a banner on as a temporary sign, but I'll support this for now, and we can come back and revisit it someday. I do like that the temporary signs are only for 2 weeks, if I understand that correctly, right? Other than the holiday, the Thanksgiving through the end of January, which I think it's kind of hard to take down a sign at that time of year anyway. So I'm fine with it.
Trustee Consolino?
No, I think we did our due diligence by trying to assist everybody during COVID, and I'm okay with shoring up the ordinance.
Trustee McNaughton?
Yeah, and it also requires 30 days without temporary signage between the display periods as well. Has flexibility for local businesses and accommodates them during the holiday seasons and, as we know, with the numerous road constructions as well. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a question on that one. Okay. Trustee Fialko?
Yes, I actually, I think this is long overdue, honestly. We have, for the past 3 years, as far as I remember, we've extended or had allowed the sign ordinance to certain things to be allowed for the past 3 years because of COVID. But I think this is actually helping things along the way. We support local businesses. We just had 2 local businesses close, Orient Cafe and Chili's. So whatever we can do to help businesses stay in business, it would just benefits us. And also on page 19 in that second paragraph, you can see that the Planning Commission voted in favor of this, in favor of this 6-0 unanimously, so I support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Was that everybody? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 7, consider for approval an ordinance amending 83-68 of the Homer Glen Code, decreasing the number of Class B liquor licenses by 2, Brinker Restaurant Corporation doing business as Chili's Grill and Bar, and the Orient Cafe, Inc., doing business as Orient Cafe. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Fialko and Trustee
I'll
McNaughton.
second.
I think Trustee McNaughton was
McMason.
first, McMason. Trustee Fialko?
No comment.
Trustee McNaughton?
No, it looks good, and I see that you recommend approval as well. That makes sense.
Trustee Mason?
I don't see why we wouldn't. 2 businesses close their doors. These are non-transferable, so why would we not decrease it?
Trustee Stylen?
Agree with all said.
Trustee Reinders? Oh, sorry, that's right, she can't speak. Trustee Consolino?
It's pretty self-explanatory.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Sorry about that.
You could still call Trustee Reinders, she just would abstain.
Trustee Reinders?
Abstain.
Motion carries. Number 8, consider a motion approving payment for the Village of Homer Glen's October legal bills from Peterson, Johnson, and Murray in the amount of $24,148.91. Is there a motion? Trustee Mason, Trustee Reinders. Trustee Mason?
Again, I went through it pretty thoroughly. I know Joe goes through it with a fine-tooth comb. It's written pretty well. It's easy to understand. Wastewater treatment, BP easement stuff, talking to their council. Again, emails from trustees, taking up time, the 143rd Street, purchasing property, professional services for water treatment plant. I mean, I could sit here for a long time and do this, but I'm for it.
Thank you. Trustee Reinders?
I have no objection with it. Basically agree with everything that Trustee Mason said. You know, our attorneys are dealing with a lot of different legal issues at this point, you know, with the election, FOIA, annexation, land acquisitions, you know, the IAW increase objection. So I have no problem with it.
Thank you. Trustee Fialko?
No comment.
Trustee Consolino?
Yes. I know that, I think we spent a little over $6,000 in regards to IAW and the rate increase. So I would like to ask during old business if legal could explain what was done for that, and if, I know that we're going to be doing a pending investigation, or if we're actively investigating now, what occurred with the rate increase. So if we could get a little bit of explanation of that during old business, I'd appreciate it.
Trustee Stylen?
Yes, I do think that the legal bills are kind of scary and high, but I went through and I made a list of all the different categories and things that they work on, and it is a lot. And I would like us to, like, if there's ways that we can reduce it, if there's things that we can do on staff side to be better prepared to help them so that we're not spending the attorney's time, but I don't know what those items are. So if somebody makes suggestions, I would be all welcome to hear them. So I agree with the paying of the bill.
Trustee McNaughton?
Yeah, cost of doing business. I mean, we have negotiations with Local 150, land acquisitions, as Trustee Consolino mentioned, 143rd Street, the ICC IAW rate increase objection. Right there is, over 50% of the invoice right there. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Mason.
Aye.
Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Trustee Fialko.
Aye.
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino.
No.
Trustee McNaughton.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 9, consider for the approval of the 2025 meeting schedule calendar for Village Board, Plan Commission, and committees. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Fialko, is there a second?
So, yes.
Trustee Mason. Trustee Fialko?
Well, I went through this, and everything looks good, except for the one thing that I think I'm going to make a motion to amend, would be June 11th and 25th. The 25th is the week of Homerfest, and I think there's way too much work that goes on in this office between staff and everybody to have that meeting on the 25th. So I'd like to make the motion to amend and remove June 25th from the schedule, and that would be the only change that I would have. So I guess I need a second.
Can I, before you make your second, can I ask for you to add one so we can just do it in one change? Would you add April, for the Ability Awareness Committee meeting schedule, April 1st is Election Day, and that room will have the computers in them. So if you can ask to just take,
Who shares
it's mine, but
Oh, okay. I was
I would
only
say do it in
changing
one-
the one. You want me to change the one for behavior?
well, if you're doing it for Homerfest, why can't you do it for
Okay.
Ability Awareness?
Which one is that again for behavioral health?
No, Ability Awareness.
Ability awareness, okay.
It's April 1st.
April 1st to what?
If you can change it to, I'm sorry, give me 1 second. I gotta look at a calendar here. Dun, 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 dun. April 1st to April 8th.
Okay. So I'd like to make the motion. Are there any other changes?
Is there any, yeah.
I do have one.
I just figured do it all in one.
Yes, absolutely.
So Jan, would you change that, Environment Committee? Or
Environment.
Trustee Consolino, would
I'm
you?
sorry, I'm looking at economic. Okay.
Mine is-
April
The
1st.
community,
It will be the following Tuesday.
Sorry. It would be April 8th.
8th too? Okay.
April
that-
8th on the
well-
Environment Committee too, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
And then which one, Jennifer, for you?
That was
Same,
it.
8th.
That
yeah.
was it.
Trustee
Same night.
Stylen?
for the Community Development Committee, I would just say we would cancel the December 23rd.
Trustee Fialko?
Hold on 1 second. Environment and ability.
We're asking you to make
I
all
wanna
these changes.
cancel some of mine.
And,
Well, it's just,
okay, what's the next one?
Trustee Stylen is asking you to cancel for the community development, just cancel the December 23rd meeting.
December 23rd, okay. Cancel. Okay, so it looks like I've got the village board meeting scheduled to remove June 25th. I've got ability awareness to change April 1st, 2025 to April 8th, 2025. I've got community development committee to cancel December 23rd. And then I've got environment committee to change April 1st, 2025 to April 8th, 2025. Was there anything I missed?
you know what, I'm looking at admin and finance, July 2nd. That's just right before 4th of July. Nobody's usually here
Cancel.
at that week. I would cancel that.
Okay, and then
Sue?
the July
Trustee
2nd
Sue.
one, Rose?
Yes, July 2nd.
Cancel.
You have February 25th.
Any other changes?
Trustee Stylen has another change.
Yeah, we changed days, so I didn't check all the
Yeah.
dates. We changed the days at the last minute. Yeah, February 25th is an election day, so that would probably not work well.
for having a meeting here, because
Which one are you talking about?
February 25th for Community
community
Development Committee.
Community development?
I mean, I don't know if we're used as a polling place here, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Cancel
it's
February 18th?
February 25th.
Oh, 20,
Yeah, we'll probably have to reschedule it, but I can't, do that at the moment.
which one is it?
Yeah, it's community development,
We'll just
February
call a special
25th.
meeting.
Community, okay. In the date?
Thanks for catching that.
February 20, okay, I see it, cancel, okay. All right, just
right.
to go through it one more time. I've got the village board meeting to cancel June 25th. I've got admin and finance to cancel July 2nd. I've got community development committee, cancel February 25th and December 23rd. I've got environment committee from April 1st to April 8th, and that should be it. Did I miss anything?
Did you say the Ability Awareness Committee?
I believe I did. Yes, ability awareness, the only one I had was April 1st to change it to the 8th.
Okay.
I said. Okay, I'll say what, so I'd like to make the motion. Oh, you got all the dates?
And I'll second the
Perfect.
the
amendment.
amendments. I
The
was
amendment.
going there, and
Okay.
my dates are perfect.
All right, I'm assuming no more discussion. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll for the amendment?
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye?
Trustee Consolino? Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Motion carries. Now, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll for the motion as amended?
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino? Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 10, consider for approval Resolution Number 24-019, a resolution authorizing the village's official social media sites and their governmental purposes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Trustee
I'll make that
Mason,
motion.
Trustee Reinders. Trustee Mason.
We ran through this a couple different times. We took care of it in A&F. A lot of public comments are taking our staff off of task. Some of it's unintelligible or spam. We want to continue to have informative content, not excessive and nuances. And I think that happens a lot. There's other villages that have done this where this is not a social media soapbox. I think it's more for informing the residents what's transpiring, and I really don't want our staff being bogged down with that, especially with everything else that's on their plates.
Trustee Reinders.
Mayor, may I ask the attorney a question?
Sure.
We had also talked about you were going to look into something for this. Because you said that, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
May I respond?
Yes.
I can share with you that our firm did review this ordinance and we
Okay.
did put it together.
Okay.
So we're comfortable with the ordinance as written.
Okay.
There's plenty of avenue, may I speak?
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of medium that the residents of this village have to voice their First Amendment constitutional rights and their rights within this village to speak and to be heard and to ask questions of their elected officials and their local government. So all this is doing is it's putting out into the public foray, just explaining that this is a one-way communication device, meaning it's the village sending a communication out to you all, and it's not a medium to be used to get information or to ask questions of your elected officials. There's other mediums that are available for that, and this ordinance does recognize that, and those are not being infringed in any way, shape, or form. This just informs everyone that, hey, this is the communication, this is simply a one-way communication, and there's not going to be any posting or things of that nature that's going to be responded to by the village.
Does that answer your question?
It answered my question. Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Stylen?
Yes, it's always hard to give up a way for residents to comment on something, but it's also too hard for the staff to monitor those comments and choose, like if something isn't appropriate, and really we can't eliminate or hide comments very easily, so this is necessary.
Trustee Mason?
I went,
you already
but,
went.
it was very articulate, legal. Thank you.
Sorry, I called you twice. Sorry. Trustee McNaughton?
No, ma'am, thank you.
Trustee Consolino?
Yeah, I am definitely confused now, because when I spoke to staff, they told me this was just a resolution, that there were no amendments yet to the ordinance. So it's not that I have an issue with amending the ordinance, and I explained that at the last time we brought this before the board. Why do we have to do a resolution first before amending?
Attorney, can you answer that?
I don't understand what the nature of the question is. This just simply advises everybody how, this recognizes what the social media sites are. These are the official notification mediums that the village is going to use to transmit to everybody over here. And also advises all the folks that the switch that would allow postings is going to be turned off after an effective date. That's what this says.
Go ahead, Trustee.
But that's not what the SOP says, so I thought the idea was to amend the SOP to reflect this.
Yes.
Why is it going into a resolution first? We still have to amend it and then bring it back to the board to amend the SOP.
I see what Trustee Consolino is saying. I don't want to talk out of turn, but I see
No.
what you're saying is that usually our SOP doesn't match what this
I mean,
is
and
right
that was
now.
what I understood from staff too, is this was, and I guess the question is, why would we do a resolution first? We've amended SOPs and just brought them before the board and changed them, voted on it. I don't understand why it had to go to a resolution first.
That's not, I mean, it wasn't determined by us, by legal, that this was the manner to do it. You can do it either any way you want to do it. Because SOP wasn't formally revised at the time we were asked to do this, what we did is we put together an ordinance and we said, now make your SOP comply with this, meaning these are the official recognized media sites, and put your SOP out there basically saying that you're no longer going to have the ability for these folks to post public comment and those sorts of things. That was it. Now, why, or, you know, if you want to have the SOP changed now, that's certainly your prerogative. But this ordinance is telling them to do it.
No, well, that was what my
This
understanding was.
resolution, ma'am, is saying to do that.
Okay, so, but we still need to amend, if we're going to amend the SOP, then we should just be amending the SOP. And as long as you guys looked into this and said it's legal to do that.
Yes.
And if it's fair to not let anybody make any comments, and that we're not picking and choosing and leaving ourselves liable here, then why are we not changing the SOP tonight?
The resolution itself speaks for itself. So it's being resolved by this board that this is what the policy is. Any policies that are inconsistent with this are stricken. So to the extent that the SOP as it currently stands conflicts with this resolution, it's a nullity. Now, from a housekeeping perspective, I certainly would recommend that the board or that the staff go ahead and make that amendment to the SOP to conform with what this is. But this standing alone carries the day, is what I'm getting at. Local policy, any policies that the village have that are in conflict with this resolution are nullified by the passage of this resolution.
Got it.
Now, if you want to wait and have somebody do it and go back and forth, that's certainly your prerogative. But there's going to be no inconsistency with this. This resolution shall control.
Who's left? Trustee, are you done, Trustee Consolino? Trustee Fialko.
No, I understand exactly what we're trying to accomplish. The question was a good question from Trustee Castellino, but I see the path it's taken, and just to hear from maybe Joe that he's going to make sure that the SOP 13 is updated based on this, that would be helpful, I guess.
Yes.
And something you can add, you might want to have us take a look at it to make sure that it's consistent with the resolution, which superseded all SOPs that are in conflict anyway. We can certainly do that with you.
Do you mind if I ask?
No, go ahead.
Could we take and approve this as it is, but ask for it to come back to the board as an amended SOP 13 so we can physically see it when it's done?
Does the board have to approve SOPs?
You don't need
No,
to.
I don't believe so. But I think
think
though
so.
that the resolution itself, Trustee Fialko, nullifies any inconsistency with any SOP.
Okay.
So it takes away the policy. So even if you had a policy that was in direct conflict with this resolution controls. Now, I think what you're saying from a housekeeping perspective, you'd like to see that fixed, and we can work with them to fix it.
Right, even if it doesn't come to the board, just so
Yes, sir.
we can see the change, and I can put it in with the rest of my SOPs. Thank you.
Yep. Yes.
I don't have anything to say one way or the other. I just think it's important because Trustee Steilen, I'd hate to point you out on this, but on some of our posts, I'm so happy that you were so professional on this today and saying, I mean, not that you're never not professional, but I mean, because, there are some comments being made that, personally attack you, and I just feel like, and it's not, how do I say that? There's some very serious threatening. Very threatening, very scary comments put on our Facebook page. So this isn't to silence anyone or to take away anyone's First Amendment right. This is more or less, there's very serious threats that are being put on there. And I'm glad that we're moving forward on this because it's not right. So that's all I want to say. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Mason.
Aye.
Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino. Aye. Trustee Fialko.
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton.
Aye.
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 11, consider for approval an ordinance approving the increase in base salary for the village manager in accordance with the existing employment agreement. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Reinders.
I'll second.
Trustee Mason. Trustee Reinders.
Well, let me see. Do we think he deserves this?
I don't know. Look at him look over there.
This is definitely something that we've agreed upon in the past in working with this contract, so I'm in 100% agreement. Joe, I think you're doing a great job. You have to deal with all of us, plus all of them. So I think you're worth it.
Trustee Mason.
We've had this in executive session and had extensive conversation, and our village manager is now in the line with the other municipalities. Joe has done a great job. I don't know how he keeps his head above water. He came to our aid when we needed him. He did it for much less, and we're happy to have you, and congratulations, Joe.
Trustee Consolino. I know that this was a contractual agreement by some of the board members, but it's hard for me not to compare it to the village managers that we had that resigned in July of 2023. That was only at $130,000, and they had a master's degree in accounting. So I feel like that should be noted. Trustee Stylen?
Yes, we used comps when we came up with this figure. And in addition to that, I look at GovHR, it has another name, MTG now, and I look at other communities, and I think this, actually, we're still on the low side. And so it just puts us in line. And I mean, and that's a lot of the staff salaries that we've had to adjust, that we're just, we're just coming up with everybody else.
Trustee Fialko?
Yes, just so there's a little more transparency here, we are going from $160,000 to $172,000, which it is in here. If you do compare other village managers and their salaries, we would still be on the lower end for the most part. Although I always said that I wanted somebody from our village to be our village manager. Joe lives in our village, and I think with the history of past village managers and the exodus, I think we've gone through 11 or 12. I might not be exact, but I'm pretty close. I think having that relationship with somebody who's got skin in the game in our community and who has worked for the village for, I think, since its infancy, I think that this is doable.
I'm going to say something. Joe does everything I ask. I have a long list of things that we go through, and it's a steno pad, like of pages of things, and we review them all the time. I don't know where this high number of village managers is coming in. I mean, if you're going to include interim and assistants and all that other stuff, I guess that can add up to whatever number it is, but I don't think we've ever had that many. And comparing you to someone who had no experience just because they have an accounting degree, Joe, you've had, how long have you been in this village? 20 years? Or 14? Yeah, since his inception. So there's no comparison. I think we got the pick of the crop there, and I think you're doing a great job, and if I could vote, I would. So, oh, did I skip McNaughton?
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
I am sorry. I tend to skip at least one of you a meeting.
That's okay. Yeah, I know the average national village manager salary is closer to 200, and with talent, I believe that you more often than not get what you pay for. And with Village Manager Joe Barber, we are getting more than we pay for. So that 7% increase reflects the appreciation of everyone for the job that you do. And thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
No.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations, Joe. And old business. Does anybody have old business? I've got one thing. Oh,
Water.
Water?
Water. My request about the IAW and the investigation and what they did to kind of basically oversee what the.
Attorney, can you,
Yeah, so.
I know some of it you can't touch base on,
Yeah,
but,
I was planning on giving an update to, or speaking to all the trustees in executive session. I'm going to keep what steps we can go going forward on a private confidentiality basis with you all in executive session on that. What I can share in open session is, let me quickly, just a quick summary of to where everything was, just in layman's terms here. So the Illinois American Water came in and requested a $152 million rate increase, predominantly based upon their claim that they had outdated and poor infrastructure, pipes, things of that nature, and the long and the short of it. After a slew of, after going through this entire process, the public hearings and everything else along those lines, the Illinois Commerce Commission, which is the agency which is vested with the authority to regulate monopolistic companies like this, like Illinois American Water, did not give them $152 million. They gave them a $110 million increase. Now, I'm going to borrow a phrase from my colleague, Mr. Michael Carroll, who was taking the lead from PJM on looking at this particular issue. And he always shared that in the history of the Illinois Commerce Commission, they have never once declined or rejected a rate hike increase from one of these types of companies. So it was never the intention of anyone, at this board, certainly our firm, that there would be a slam dunk that this was going to stop, that this rate increase would stop. There's always going to be a rate increase. The question was how much. And the amount that the ICC ultimately awarded, they slashed the amount that was being requested by 30%. And that's where it is. Now, I can share with you that from the next step in this process, potentially is an appeal. It's an uphill battle on appeal because you're dealing with industrial commission findings of fact, so on and so forth. It's a very, very, what they call deferential standard of appeal. That's the same that you see in a lot of legal issues. There are a couple other options that I'm going to share with the board in executive session, which we don't necessarily want to talk about at this point, because we don't want to necessarily tip our hand as to potential strategies, because the folks from IAW could potentially be listening, okay? So, but that's the summation of what ICC was looking for, what they ultimately ruled upon, and then in exec session, the parties can still appeal, which is an uphill battle. In exec session, I'll touch on a couple other private things, ma'am, that we can do, or that the board can consider.
Well, the village publicly put out that we're doing an active investigation. So are we investigating right now, or is that?
I'll talk about that in executive session.
Okay, because that is physically out there publicly.
Ma'am, I don't know what you're specifically referring to, but I don't want to touch anything more
Village
into.
Manager Baber?
Wait, I do not want to discuss openly matters of strategy, investigative work that our firm may be doing in open session. I do not want to get into that point. I can discuss that, ma'am, in executive session with you.
Thank you.
anything else for old business? Nope. The only thing I had was, I did get a few phone calls, and I should have brought it up earlier, about signage. Bell Road, when the construction was on the east side of the street, there was signage for the restaurants or businesses that were there. Did we complete that work for the ones that are on the west side? Because I did have some business owners call me asking if there was going to be some sort of signage. And I know it's not us that puts that in there, but I didn't know if we talked with Will County about making the arrangements for signage.
We'll look into that further on the west side, what businesses would be affected on the west side.
So I know Chesdin's had called, and then
Probably Nick's, Chesdin's, all that. area.
yeah, that side had called saying,
Bell Tower Plaza.
and not to mention, on 143rd Street, we got to talk to the county about those cones and directions because it's confusing on where to go. It's, I saw people driving the wrong way 3 times in 2 days. That's pretty bad, so.
We'll reach out to the county.
Great. Any new business?
Go ahead.
On what you're talking about. Is there a way that we could put out better information, whether it be social media or whatnot? There's still a lot of accidents occurring. They're also closing off when they feel like there's no notice out of Meadowview into Meadowview. One day you can get in, the next day you can't. It's getting very frustrating, especially when people are trying to go to work, take their kids to school for the school buses. Do we have any status on what exactly is going on?
We do, excuse,
Madam Mayor?
So, hold on. So we do post quite often the status, the update, quite often when we get and receive the information. I know Joe is on top of communication with the county on any, but when it's a particular street on what's closed and what's open, they have never communicated that to us regarding Meadowview.
But not everybody's on social media from Meadowview.
Right, but what I'm saying is we put it on our Facebook, we have it on our website, we talk about it every chance we can. We don't have a newspaper, and if you put it in the newspaper anyways, it's not going to get out till after the fact.
Could we do text blasts? Haven't we done informative?
We can, but again, they don't notify us of when they close down a specific street
No,
for
and
like a
then it's
5,
creating a
excuse me,
lot of
I understand, but I'm just talking right now. So, I mean, they don't communicate with us, we're going to close down Meadowview Lane for 10 minutes or 20 minutes. If they're doing it for a long period of time, they will, or they give us updates on the project. But is there any way that maybe we can communicate with them to let us know maybe a schedule and if or when they're going to change it for whatever times?
We will reach out to them tomorrow.
Okay, I'm going to go to the attorney real quick first and then, okay. Trustee Mason.
I was just going to help you with that. Mr. Westcott and myself during Public Safety and Services, we discussed this. We're trying to have as much communication as we can about 143rd and Bell Road, and Mr. Westcott is publishing that information.
Okay, anything else for new business?
For new business? Yes.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, regarding the signage, Jennifer, or Trustee Constantino, were you done? Mm-hmm. Trustee Mason, oh my goodness, Trustee Fialco, too many gummy bears. Trustee Fialco, I know, the jar's half gone.
This is under new business. What I'd like to do is get a consensus from the board, honestly. The Christmas party is Friday, December 13th at Old Oak for staff, for all of staff and for the whole village. And what I'd like to extend for all the hard work that everybody's done is, the way I understand it, after speaking with Joe Baber, that we do not normally have spouses go to that party. I see no reason why somebody's spouse shouldn't be able to attend that party with them. I think it's a good time to interact with everybody and get to know people a little bit better. And so I would support extending the invitation to staff spouses to include them if they want to bring them. So I mean, I guess we'd have to take a consensus to see if that would be okay. That's this Friday coming up. I believe that's this Friday, right? Yeah, it would
Well,
be,
just for clarification though.
Sure.
It's not for the whole village, it's for the employees and elected officials.
Right,
I don't want,
I
well, you said the whole village, I don't want people to think that.
the whole village staff
Yeah.
is what I meant.
Okay.
Maybe I didn't say this, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I just wanted to make it clear, I was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
That could be
Yeah,
crazy.
for village staff.
Oh.
Everyone who works for the village of Homer.
Okay. Joe, I can't get it out, I'm tired.
I think that's something we can consider in the future, maybe, inviting the spouses. At this point, 2 days before the event, I think it would be difficult to potentially contact where we're holding this event and make arrangements for additional people, not knowing who. We had an RSVP go out quite some time ago for the staff and the trustees, the elected officials. So 2 days before an event to open it up to potentially another 50 some odd people would be difficult. That would be difficult 2 days before.
Well, if that's the way I mean, a lot of things are done at the last minute for a lot of different things, but in the future, maybe you could bring it to the board for these types of events so we can include staff spouses. I think that would be a nice gesture.
Well, I think from a restaurant perspective, we order our stuff a week ahead of time, usually for an event. So if you're going to have an additional 50 people, that could put some burden on, on them, thinking they're not going to have enough food or, enough of anything to be able to supply that to everybody, to be able to meet the needs of the additional people. So just from that, but I have no objection with spouses being there at all.
I think both the village manager brings up great points, and I think the trustee Fiocco's extension to the families are a great thing, and I agree with trustee Reinders. Last minute could be very hectic on wherever, and it would be unfair to a whole bunch of people that don't get that notice in time. So I think it's definitely something that you could look at in the future, and I think it's a great idea, trustee Fiocco, for the spouses to be included.
Anybody else? Trustee Cancelino? Trustee McNaughton? Trustee Steiner? Okay. All right, so there's no workshop tonight. Is there a motion to go into executive session for discussion regarding personnel,
I'll make that motion.
pending litigation, utilities, and review of executive session minutes?
I'll make
I
that
heard
motion.
Trustee McNaughton?
I'll second.
Trustee Mason? And can we take a 5-minute recess?
Por favor.
Yes. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.